are listening to the Bold Action Taker podcast with Kirsty Knight. I'm your host, Kirsty, and this is the podcast to help you up-level your self-belief, self-confidence, and self-discipline so you've got the courage to take bold action in your business, become your most productive self, and achieve your boldest money goal yet. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Welcome to part 8 of the Why Can't I Fit It All In series. Okay, so another one of the reasons why a lot of my clients are struggling to fit everything in each week is that they aren't maximizing upon or optimizing their existing efforts. That means they aren't getting the return they should be on the time invested, and so they are having to double down on doing more. They're having to repeat things they've already done, or they're having to spend more time working on the thing in order to create the desired result. So I'll give you some examples to make it easier for you to understand what I mean. So one of them I gave last week actually, and that was you doing tasks that you aren't necessarily good at. And so it takes you far longer to get the task done, or you end up having to correct mistakes, so it takes longer. That is, it takes more time to get the same return than if you were to hire someone who is more effective at the task. So this effectively lowers the return you get for the time invested. Another example is putting tons of time and effort into marketing and nurturing an audience, but never selling. Either through you not having decided on your offer yet, or you thinking you have to wait a certain period of time before you sell. Or maybe you have fears and discomfort around selling that you need to work through. But whatever the reason, the result is that you are putting tons of effort and time into something that isn't going to proportionately increase how much of a return you will get when you eventually do start selling. Because some of your audience will have wanted the solution to their problems before you decided to sell. So they may have gone elsewhere. Some of the audience may not need your solution anymore as they figured it out on their own, or they're in a different place now and the need isn't there anymore. Or they may have just stopped interacting with your stuff because they never got an invitation from you to help them solve their problems. And so even though they look like they're still part of your audience, they are still, one, making up the numbers in your Facebook group or your followers on Instagram or TikTok. They aren't actually listening to what you are saying. So they miss it when you do decide to start selling. Or they are miffed that you are actually trying to sell them something now, so they don't buy out of principle because they've come to expect free solutions solely from you. And even the ones who do still go on to buy your solution, they would have bought from you earlier if the opportunity to had been available. So you did a lot of that extra effort for no real noticeable gain. So by not selling earlier on, you aren't really optimizing the results you could have been getting from the time that you invested. Another example is where maybe people are reaching out to you interested in what you could help them with, yet you are either nervous about selling or resistant in some way to get back to them. So you don't, and you miss out on that sale. Or maybe you aren't resistant, but your inbox is a mess and you don't have a streamlined system in place for noting down potential interest and following up, or for offering a simple way for them to take the next step and maybe book a sales call. And so you're missing potential opportunities this way. So all of that effort and time you put into generating that interest in the first place is wasted and certainly not maximized upon or optimized. Another example where you may be doing this is changing your mind on your niche, your offer, your ideal client, your strategy, your marketing platform, etc. after you've already put so much time and effort and energy into raising awareness as to what you are doing. Now, it's not to say once you decide on something you are stuck with it. Of course not. This is your business, you get to decide. And you do want your business to evolve with you. But you want to be mindful of every change you make because it can mean that you're essentially starting fresh. So you won't be maximizing or optimizing the work and effort you've already put in. A lot of the reasons why I see people doing this is because they haven't yet started seeing results from what they have been doing and they assume it isn't working at all and that something else will be easier and quicker. But what they don't realise is that they are now essentially starting over and they will still have to learn all the basics of how to utilise that new strategy or platform or how to nail their new messaging for their new audience or niche, which is often more work than simply evaluating what is going on right now with their current platform, strategy, niche and tweaking it until it works better. Another example of not maximizing upon your efforts to get the return that you want is watching training videos from various courses that you're in, but they're not actually implementing what you've learned. Or you listening to podcasts like this, full of amazing exercises and information, but then you're not applying the learnings to your business before you move on to the next shiny course or podcast. So you keep doing the same thing as what you were doing before you took the course or heard that podcast. And even if you attempt to implement it later, because of the time that has passed and all the things you've got going on in your life, you then need to go back and re-watch the training video again or re-listen to the podcast again because you haven't retained the information. This absolutely isn't optimizing your time. And the same goes for even if you aren't taking a course, but you're repeating the same actions again and again, even though those actions have not created the results you want. You seem to think that just more time passing is required in order to create those results, yet time in and of itself will do nothing to change the results if the thing you are doing simply isn't working and something is missing in order to get the result you want. And I've spoken about this before because I've done this. I did this with Instagram. Posting consistently pretty much every single day for a year and not getting any of the results I wanted from it, yet telling myself it takes time to grow an audience, etc., when really I wasn't doing what needed to be done in order to get the results. Another situation where you're not really optimizing the results you can get in the time you are spending is where you are selling the same offer, but you're launching it differently every single time and changing what you do to launch it, without evaluating and without honing your skills on the method of launching that you started with. So this is easy to do. It's easy to slip into. I did this on my second launch. I completely changed how I launched my group program instead of really evaluating what worked, what didn't, and what I do differently, and then using that evaluation to inform the next launch. And of course, the trouble with this is that if you change each launch that much, it is like starting from scratch. You aren't honing your skills on each launch type, and so you will struggle to get better and better results from the same amount of time that you put in, particularly as you won't be able to reuse existing assets created for the first launch potentially, so you will have to create them all again. Similarly, even if you are launching the same way each time, if you spend time diligently evaluating the launch, but then you don't actually use that evaluation the next time to inform what you're going to do, not only will you likely not improve upon your launch success, but you will have wasted all the time you spent evaluating. So that definitely isn't optimizing your time or maximizing the efforts from what you've already put into it. Or maybe you are using the evaluation, but you're changing too many things about your launch at the same time. So you won't be able to make an educated guess as to what changed the results the next time. So in a way, the evaluation won't really have done its job to its fullest potential. Again, no shame here. I've done this too. But what all of these things ultimately lead to are you spending time doing things only to have to then spend time doing the same things again. It is you putting more time and effort in to get the same return later. It is you not maximizing upon your efforts, not optimizing the returns of what you put in. And so you're effectively running on a treadmill in your business, not actually feeling like you're going anywhere and still having to run to keep in the same spot. And this sucks. It feels awful. And of course, it does nothing to help you fit more in because you aren't ever properly ticking things off or getting more efficient or effective at what you are doing, so you never end up cutting down on your hours. So the solution is to be committed to optimizing your time, optimizing your return for time invested, your ROTI. I don't know if that's a thing. I think I've just made that up, but that's what I'm going to call it from now on. And the process we need for this is as follows. First, you need to be aware that this is what you are doing. This is the first but most important step, as with anything. If you aren't aware that you are doing this, then you haven't got a hope in hell of changing it. The next step is to understand why you are doing what it is that you are doing. Which of the above scenarios is your nemesis and why? What is the underlying root cause of your behavior? What are you thinking that gets you repeating the patterns? What are the emotions driving the patterns? Is it fear? Is it resistance? Is it apathy? Is it frustration? Because this will then give us a place to start. So whether that is us working on you realizing your value in your business or overcoming your fears around money scarcity and consequently deciding to outsource to someone who can get a better ROTI than you. Or you taking the time to map out an offer that you are confident in and unpicking the fears and resistance you have around selling so that you can start serving your audience as soon as they come into your world, rather than losing them out of a reluctance to offer anything to them first off. Or it might be you needing to manage your brain's tendencies to change your mind on your offers, your strategy, your niche, and learning how to stay committed, even when the results aren't showing yet. Or you figuring out how to factor in sufficient space into your calendar so that you have time to attend trainings and then immediately implement them, rather than them having a quick once over and then them gathering dust in your virtual bookshelves and then losing all the value gained from your additional knowledge by simply not taking action on it. Or maybe we'd have to start with you uncovering your resistance to changing what isn't working in your business, or to sticking with what is working and strategically changing one thing at a time once you've evaluated. So the thing you need to work on will be specific to you. But if you take the time to think about your time, do a little analysis on it, you will know what areas you need coaching on once you've identified the areas where you are not getting a return for your time invested. And then once you have addressed these key areas, those major time sucks in your business, then you will want to stay committed to continuous improvement on your return on time invested. So every single area in your business, you want to take the time each week to look to see if you could have cut down on the hours of effort put in and still got the same or better results, to see how you could optimize your time further, to maximize upon your efforts. And if you do this, if you decide to invest the time and effort in improving your ROTI, your return on time invested, just by 1% each week, in 1 year from now, you could be working a third less and earning either the same amount or more. So this is the exact work that I do with my clients, because one of my core missions in life is to help other female business owners, entrepreneurs, build and scale wildly successful businesses without them burning out, without them working themselves into the ground, and with them enjoying the journey of entrepreneurship and a full life outside of it at the same time. And optimizing the returns you get for your time is essential to this mission. So if this episode resonates with you, if your time feels like it is being eaten up and you know you aren't getting the best returns for the effort you are putting in, then book a consult with me so we can start to change that for you. I'll pop a link in the show notes below. That's it for this week, my friends. Take a look at how you're not getting the returns you want for the time invested and see where you could optimize better. I'll speak to you next week. Hey, thanks for listening to the Bold Action Taker podcast with Kirsty Knight. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you'll want to make sure that you are in my community, because every single month I offer something for free that will help you. That might be a one-to-one session with me, sometimes a mini training, a workshop, a free resource, or a small gift that will help you either get unstuck or simply add more joy to your business journey. Go to my website, www.kirstyknightcoaching.com/subscribe to make sure you don't miss out.